Okay, Ashley, can I have roll call, please?
Ved Bratton. Here. Melby.
Here.
Jurdy.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Briggs.
Here.
Cavalier.
Here.
Kressel. Klatt.
Here.
Okay, it's time for the open forum, and when anyone would like to address the council on any issue not already on tonight's agenda may come to the podium. State your first, last name, and address, please. Chad, is there anybody on the phone bridge? There is not, I will close it. Thank you.
Agent logged up.
Okay, no presentations. That brings us to the agenda. Does anyone wish to add or remove anything from tonight's agenda? Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I make that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you, Clayton. Is there a second?
A second, Your Honor.
Thank you, Delane. Discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Ved Bratton.
Here, or aye.
Melby.
Aye.
Jurdy.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Klatt.
Aye.
All right, brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from tonight's consent agenda? Can I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
Second.
Thank you, Tom and Steve, thank you. Roll call, please.
Ved Bratton.
Aye.
Melby.
Aye.
Jurdy.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Klatt.
Aye.
Okay, no public hearing. Ashley?
Yes, Your Honor. Item 8.01 is a resolution calling for a public hearing to authorize the abatement for housing incentive program.
Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So move.
Thank you, Wayne. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Don. Discussion?
I do have a question on that
I'm gonna have Amy give us a brief
one. Okay.
first, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. These are homes that had applied as part of our most recently approved housing incentive program, I think 2020 to 2021. And working with our partners at the county, got the values. These are all fully valued and ready to be before you. These three properties, should they be approved as part of our housing abatement, and this particular resolution is just calling for that public hearing, would be eligible to receive reimbursement of the 2021 taxes after proof of payment from the customer or through the county. Did that answer your question?
No, it didn't. When I was up there today, I guess my question is, on the one on Fifth Avenue, 616 Fifth, is that two lots? Because there's a house on the one lot and a garage on the other one. Is it two lots or is it being incorporated in one? 'Cause I don't think we should be abating a garage.
Ashley's pulling the map for us. It is only listed as one parcel.
Right, well, that's what I'm curious about.
So
It looks like it's either was two and made into one or something.
So this one right here is the one that.
the .04 parcel is just one. There's a map for you.
Yeah.
So that is the parcel. The first. Oh, that's okay. Will you go to the microphone? Thank you.
I believe there was there was a discussion at planning committee regarding that issue, and I think there was a half of a lot pulled in to that lot on 616 Fifth Avenue. And I guess I didn't even think of that in terms of the problems that may be presented if that came down to abatement. So I apologize for that.
I'm gonna, just having this before me right now, I'm unable to answer your question any further, so.
Well, I wasn't sure on it either until I was up there and I looked and I said, well, is this two lots or one lot?
You are
believe it's-
looking at one lot as it
Yeah.
is outlined on your map.
I believe it's a lot and a half from what I understood, but Polk County GIS is not always accurate every time, so just if that's what's showing there.
Well,
You know, I know a lot of times if they buy, say, one on the side, they'll incorporate into one so they don't have to pay tax on both of them. And I don't know if he'd done that or not done it.
I have no idea of his intentions of
Yeah.
why he did that. So,
I guess if he
outside of
hasn't,
building the garage.
if he hasn't, I guess we abate the lot that the house is on.
I don't, before we can agree or not agree, this is the parcel in front of us
Yep.
that we're calling the public hearing on. I will work tomorrow to get answers to the question, but as of right now, I don't have the resources here to answer that question for you. But there is, whether it's a question of the parcel or not, we do have a value from the county.
Okay,
So I don't believe that it's a garage. I can double check that, but I need to be clear on what question would you like me to be finding out for sure?
well, I guess mainly, is it, all one lot? Or is it, or which lot is it?
So you're asking if this 82.0238.04 is one lot.
Is that the lot that the house is on?
So we'll see.
We're gonna have to find that out.
Right.
Can this be tabled, Amy?
I think it would be
Can you pull up the GIS?
it would be the 380.04 that the house would be on.
That's what we're gonna have to find out. I can't answer that for you right now. We can table it. We need to get this through by the end of the year.
Yeah,
So, we need to call a public hearing, so if we wait until the 22nd, we could then call a public hearing on the 13th. But we need to I need to understand what questions exist that we need to find for you so that we can present or answer your questions and get this on the next one so we don't run out of time on that.
well, I guess myself, the question I had when I seen this
This
is,
parcel
are
does
we,
have that.
is it 2 lots or 1 lot or what is it?
Yep.
So
this-
Ashley's just pulling up the county tax records. This lot does have the house on it. We're looking at a picture right now.
The stretch and the garage.
And a garage on it. And the county did double check this information for us, the assessor's office, and provide us values on it. So, yeah, according to the assessor's website and the tax records, there's a picture of the house on there.
So in other words, they probably made the lot and a half.
It
to
could
one.
have, been a combined lot, 2 parcels could have been combined, but
At least half of the lot, I think, was purchased at the adjacent lot.
Well, at one time, that was the lot we split,
Okay,
because it was a bigger lot, basically, so the price was more reasonable, so that bigger lot was split into 2.
okay.
So
Well, I
basically,
remember something about the garage being built up there, but I wasn't sure what it was, and that's.
well,
what-
yeah, I mean, the house was put up, and then whoever bought the house bought that other parcel, that big, when it was a bigger lot, that other parcel lot from Kevin Ross.
And I know if they don't combine them together, then they end up with 2 garbage fees and 2 this fee and that
Right.
fee. So I'm sure that if they did this, they probably put it all in one lot. And that's all I was just checking.
the assessor's office shows the home and the garage on 1 lot. So at some point, it may have been combined. I don't have that history.
Okay.
Okay, so are
Then I'm
there?
fine.
Okay. I'm gonna hand that back.
Yes,
I think that's all yours. Okay. Were there any other questions? I did make a note in your memo that staff is discussing now and planning to bring forward to you a proposed housing incentive program for you to consider for the upcoming years. So we are working on that.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Bed Bratton,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy. Aye. Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Platt.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.02 is a resolution to declare the police impound vehicles as surplus vehicles, Your Honor.
Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you, Clayton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Don. Thank you. Discussion.
What is the funds that are received for these vehicles used for?
Darren,
Would a member of our police department come to the microphone?
I think it's for training.
Sorry, what are the funds used for that?
Where does the funds go?
So that's all dictated by Minnesota statute, and it has to go back into DWI enforcement. So that can be like body cameras, in-car cameras, radars, portions of costs of vehicle equipment, items like that. Training DWI related.
Okay, thank you.
And then I saw there was two different sections there, kind of, one was surplus, one was junk.
Yeah.
What determines the junk?
So, basically they're pretty, if they're damaged, a lot of these vehicles are maybe obtained through pursuit, DWI pursuits or whatever, and they're damaged pretty extensively.
Yeah.
So those vehicles we just determine are junk. So on this sale, we have, I believe, 7 vehicles. 6 of them we plan on selling through the state of Minnesota, minbid.org, like we have in the past. And then we have 1 vehicle that, what we do is we put it up for bids on the 3 salvage companies in town, and they just put bids on the junk vehicles that we have, and highest bidder gets that car,
Okay,
that vehicle.
Thank you.
yep, thanks, Darren.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Ved Bratton,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy. Aye. Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Platt.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 8.02 is a resolution approving the Crookston Police Department to pre-order 2 vehicles for 2022.
We have a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Delane, second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Christie. Discussion.
Your Honor, I'm going to give you a brief intro and then ask Darren to come back up. This is similar in nature to the request we had before you on the motor grader. Our equipment is taking quite a while to get and getting in the queue for that. These 2 vehicles are included in the 2022 budget that has been presented to you. You will see that again this evening, and then I'm going to ask Darren if he will just add a little bit to that.
Yeah, like Amy said, and like we all know, due to COVID, the electronic components, we're gonna try that again. The electronic parts, let's use a different word. For these vehicles are getting more difficult to locate, right, for the vehicle manufacturers. So we just feel that, talking with the local dealers, that if we wait until after January to order these vehicles, they're gonna become increasingly more difficult to obtain. Delivery times will be delayed. And, nationwide is typical, kind of boilerplate business that after the first of the year, when everybody has a new budget, you start ordering vehicles. So you're gonna see an increase of ordering vehicles nationwide from all the police agencies in the nation. And they're on a first come, first served basis. So hypothetically, if like New York Police Department ordered 200 cars and we're below them, it just could really, really delay us receiving those vehicles. So like Amy said, they are funded in next year's budget, in talking with both local dealers where we plan on buying these vehicles, one from Christian Brothers Ford and one from Bro Chevrolet. If we order them now, there's no chance of obtaining delivery of those vehicles until after January, so.
Is the price then within the budgets that were set for them?
Correct, like Amy said, the money is set or funded in the 2022 budget to
Right.
cover the cost of these
But
vehicles.
they're not gonna go over that?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep, we've
Okay.
already obtained all the bids. They're in line with what we budgeted in next year's budget. And that cost would be valid, whether we order them now or what, yep.
Okay.
So is, I know I've asked this question a couple times before, leasing. Are we purchasing these vehicles then? And
These are scheduled to be purchased. I think the police department has looked into some leasing options, but I don't know that that has been fully developed at this point, and still need to keep on our replacement schedule. One of the vehicles, some of them are already having some mechanical issues. We did discuss if it was possible to defer those, and don't feel like that may be in our best interest to keep enough vehicles, especially in the current situation of getting new ones, to defer any of that
I
with our
mean,
police.
always, the nice thing with leasing is you lease it for 3 years, however many years, and let it go back and get another one. You're always driving a nicer vehicle.
Yeah, I know that, Darren, you may want to add to that, but you have explored that option, I believe.
Yeah, so, you know, we did through one company, Enterprise Rent-A-Car. It's the same company that I know many other cities, our size or larger, I think Polk County has a contract through them. You know, and on the surface, it looks really good, and like you said, you can save money in that you're rotating vehicles more often, so you're projecting that your vehicle maintenance costs are lower, you're having newer vehicles, so your gas economy would be increased, right? The problem, if you want to say it, with even a city our size, is the number of vehicles that they would like to get in a lease program is pretty large. So even us at the police department, we wouldn't necessarily qualify for a lease program unless we had all the departments throughout the city get on board with that. And that, you know, could be something we could maybe explore further down the road, but just the quantity of vehicles, like they would look to hopefully have a minimum of 20 vehicles to lease. And for a city our size, that's, I think, a pretty big ask. One advantage by not leasing vehicles, and there's probably other companies out there, I did research just Enterprise Rent-A-Car, which, you know, they're the largest leasing manufacturer in the nation, I believe. They're not able to get cars this year. Like, a lot of the dealers are not letting them come in and buy all the vehicles, right? So actually by this year not being a lease program, I think is in our advantage, but I don't disagree with what you're saying, and you know, could maybe be further explored through other companies, but just currently we've kind of decided maybe it's not a good
They
fit.
won't let you just lease one vehicle, it has to be,
So it's not like 20 up front, like, right? Like we could maybe, let's say the police department leased 3 or 4, and the park did 3 or 4, and so on and so forth. It's over the course of a few years, but ultimately their goal is minimum 20 vehicles. So, and we'd need to coordinate a little bit more with other department heads, and with a lot of turnover at the time that we were looking, you know, we've had a lot of turnover with department heads.
So
We
what,
just elected to postpone for at least a year.
after you get a vehicle, do you have to send it someplace to get the equipment installed that you guys need to do your job?
Correct, right. So we special order these vehicles, the squad cars, from Ford. So they're pre-wired according to the packages that we put in the vehicles. And then when we're done with that, we send them to a company to upfit them, as they call it. But we reuse a lot of the equipment. That's a nice thing. Our patrol officers prefer, they're called Ford Utilities, but basically the Explorer version, you know, Explorers. So we reuse the partition or the cages. We reuse sometimes the center consoles, radios, radar, you know, your car cameras. So a lot of the really expensive components we reuse, but you know, they're changing all the time, and there are, you know, a lot of the lights that go on the cars are usually only good for maybe like one cycle of service, which is 4 or 5 years and whatnot. So we repurpose everything we can, but some things you just have to replace.
Is that then an issue if you lease a vehicle, you probably have some different mounting stuff that's in a lease vehicle that challenging to send back? Is that an issue or not?
So that wasn't with Enterprise. We did ask that question, like, you know, drilling holes through the roof of cars or things like that. And, you know, you can do with them as if you own them. So that didn't seem to be a problem with them. But at least, again, just with the Enterprise Rent-A-Car that we checked with. And it was myself, Kathy, and Ryan sat in on that meeting. This was earlier summer. It was kind of midsummer or what.
Have you ever tried, like, say, just with the dealers themselves?
You know, we have not.
Okay.
I don't believe that we've explored that option of just leasing
Yeah.
vehicles. And I honestly don't even know if there's a lease program for police cars.
Right.
It's possible, but I unfortunately have not checked into that.
So even with the leasing, is it unlimited mileage?
Yes, if I remember right, yes. So I don't want to say 100%, but I believe it was. I believe because it's a commercial lease, I don't believe there was a mileage restriction. And, you know, one nice advantage of it is you could set it up on like a 4 or 5 year lease, depending on a payment that you wanted or that fit in your budget. And at the end of that 4 or 5 years, you did own the vehicle. You know, so it was, you know, there was that advantage. And with Enterprise, I mean, sometimes you can pre-order a little earlier through the prior year, but again, this year I think we were better off. Again, we were through Enterprise. It's unlikely we would get any vehicles for next year. So definitely not opposed to it, but again, we might have to explore other companies because Enterprise might not be the right fit for us.
I mean, I just think that with the amount of vehicles we have in our fleet, I think leasing should be something we should seriously consider at some point in time, because, you know, you get something that's however many, we try to use it until 10, 15 years or whatever the case may be. And now we got something that's not very good anymore. Now we gotta go out and buy something new. It takes a big hit out of our budget. If we could just, you know, always be driving newer vehicles through a lease program, I think that's probably, and like you said, the maintenance stuff on those types of things, a lot of them are under warranty, so if anything happens, we don't have to do any out-of-pocket stuff to fix the warranty items.
Right, you know, and, so, you know, I initially thought maybe by leasing them, we could lease more vehicles with our current budget, and I don't know budget-wise if we would save a lot, but you would save on the backside exactly like you said. Fuel economy, newer vehicles, warranty. So it might not be the initial upfront, like the city would see a lot of savings with already the money that we budget. We would probably still need all of that funds, all those funds, but, you know, there's the other safety, mileage, things like that to consider.
How often do you replace your vehicles now?
So our vehicles, our squad cars are on a 4-year replacement plan.
4 years,
So, and this year we're requesting one for patrol.
Yeah.
And one for investigations, and we have 3 investigative cars, and the one we're looking to replace is a 2008, and the other one's a 2010, so we keep those vehicles for quite some time. Actually, they kind of rust out more than the mechanical parts go bad, but like Amy said, this current vehicle that we're looking to replace already needs several $1,000s repairs on it, so.
Doesn't pay.
Thank you.
No, it doesn't take much, no.
Okay, thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Ed Bratton,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Platt.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.04 is a resolution to renew cash farm lease for the Lagoon property for 2021 to 2024, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you, Clayton. Is there
I'll
a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Don. Discussion. Amy, a brief.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. The city did go out for bids on this lagoon lease, and we did not receive any bids through our advertisement. So the city reached out to the current tenant to see if he was still interested in farming the land, and he was. So what we have before you is a lease that is very similar to the one that existed before, other than the term. It's still a 3-year, but the dates have changed. You will notice one other change, and that's some language on Exhibit A, which is where the legal description is. We're required to maintain a buffer, and that wasn't really laid out very well in the lease, so we've just updated that. We have obtained current maps and those things, so, and then Brandon will talk to each of our tenants and make sure they're aware where that grass needs to be planted. So those are the main changes there from the lease that existed before.
Does this one automatically give him another chance of 3 years like the rest of them do? Rather than have to rebid it again
To automatically renew?
after 3 years?
I did not. We'll have to read through this real quick if you'll give me just a moment.
So
That's
it's
the term. If you'll give me a moment, I'll read through this and see if I can find that for you.
I think our other leases do that, they get,
Some of them do.
Yeah.
Some of them do. I'm not seeing it right off the top, but
and maybe since you had to go back and ask him, he's fine with that anyway, so. yeah.
I don't see it right off that there's an automatic renewal in there.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay, further discussion?
Did you keep the prices the same as they had? Right?
Price is the same, yep. The real changes, as I explained, are just the dates, of course, and the language about the buffer being maintained in there.
Can I have roll call, please?
Ed Bratton,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy. Aye. Erickson,
All right,
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Platt.
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Item 8.05 is a resolution adopting a policy for naming city-owned lands and facilities, Your Honor.
We have a motion to
Your
approve
Honor-
this.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion, we table this one for now. I can tell you my reason. I think with everybody being so touchy today and the diversity in the country and stuff, I think this could cause us some problems right now. I'd just as soon see it hold off for a while, till things kind of settle down.
Tom, can you talk more about that, what you actually mean by that?
Like I say, you take a look at all the lakes and stuff that have to be renamed on account of they're called a different thing. Different sports have got to be renamed on account of their names on them. I just don't think that this is a good time for us to start naming different buildings or different pieces of land.
I guess my understanding of this is just us adopting a policy when people want something named.
Well,
That's correct. This was actually spurred because we have had 2 recent requests to name city-owned property, parks, parts of our facilities.
I
and
guess
right-
There's
that's
no
what I-
procedure or policy in
We
place.
have no criteria right now to apply for that or a formal application process, so that,
I guess if we have, to me, I guess if we have something that needs to be named or something, I would more or less turn it over to the public and get their opinions on it and go from there, rather than, I see some of this here, like say, if you donate a pile of money, or you do this, or you do that, then you can get it named after you, and I just don't think that's a good idea.
Well, there should be an opportunity if people want to put in a request in a format to do that. So I think we should have a format for that.
Yeah, I think to make things more equitable, to have a policy that everybody is abiding by versus just willy-nilly throwing it out there and hoping for the best doesn't make sense either.
I don't think right now, if there's something that's already named, that we should be renaming it.
I don't
and
think
that
that's
policy
the-
actually addresses that. If I may, for just a moment, where I lived and worked before, we had a very similar naming policy, and I researched through the internet and other cities' policies and codes, and I did pull eight additional cities down. Almost all of those speak strongly about discouraging the renaming of city facilities unless there's a very compelling reason to do so. That is because of the familiarity of names. They're usually tied to some geographical or regional or possibly historic name. One example is the renaming of Highland Complex. I hear it called Highland Complex 90% more than I hear it called Ray Eklund Complex, because that's what we all know it as. That's what we're used to calling it. So this policy actually does not support, without a compelling reason, that would be the decision of the seated council, to rename, but does allow a formal process for someone to request that, or if there was a new park. I'll give you an example. In Ottawa, Kansas, where I lived, we didn't have a dog park. One was being created, and there was a large fundraising initiative done through various organizations, and there was one large donor. They did apply for naming rights for that because of their donation, and that was through a process. And that being new, opened that up a little bit. Now, if no one had applied or requested that, the naming of that then would have fallen to the city.
Yeah, I think we should have a formal process and
Let's,
I just want to make a comment.
I think we gotta have a motion to approve this, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
So do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I make that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you, Christie. Is there a second?
Second. Oh, go ahead.
Clayton?
Clayton? Okay, now we can have a discussion.
I believe we should have a formal process and give the people an opportunity. And the council, that's what we're here for, is to make that decision if it's proper or not. So I don't think it's a threat to the council or the city to have.
And the council would have to approve it anyway. wouldn't they?
Right.
That's right. Even if it came through another board, and it could possibly, you may have a request through the park board or some other committee, it will still then, even if a recommendation is developed at that level, because it's city-owned, this policy just strictly discusses city-owned properties, facilities, parks, those things. It would come before you as a council for that final decision.
Well, and I think in the fact, as Tom was trying to articulate earlier, when you're saying put it out to the public to make that decision, this is in fact what that is doing. It's just doing it in a formal policy because there is nothing. And so I know in the past, there's been some random, like, four-person decisions on naming of things because there's been no policy or procedure. This provides the public, anybody understanding that this is the process, and if they would like to have something named, they know now that they can go through a process in order to request that.
I can also see somebody requesting or whatever, donating something, and somebody else requests their name, and then if we don't go along with it, they're gonna be a little sore, but I can see it just causing problems, and I just don't think it's a good idea.
That's part of it.
On one of the objectives on that page 1 of the policy, under naming objectives, number 3 is in fact to encourage public participation in the naming and dedication of parks, recreation areas, and facilities. And I would agree that this allows, we can, have an application on our website or provided by staff, but it allows a formal process to bring those requests before you. That you may get an unreasonable request. I mean, there may be a request, or maybe it just doesn't fit with the area. And that's okay, that enables you to have that discussion, or at the park board to develop a recommendation, and gives you some criteria to follow, and just allows a formal process to get those requests in. I don't expect we will see a huge number of them, but we have heard a couple recently, and I just thought it might be helpful to give us a process to follow as we consider those and prepare those for your consideration.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Ved Bratton,
Nay,
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Klatt,
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Ashley. All right, reports. Amy?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I do have just a few things I want to run through real quick. I want to give you a very brief update on the campground, and I do not have a full proposal for you right now, but we have run into a few issues with some of the bids coming back, and before we can bring a proposal to you about what our options are and are not, we are working with the grant administrator to understand what that may look like if we need to bring a proposal to amend the scope or put some options before you and have questions answered beforehand. There's another aspect that we'll be working at the same time, and that is as far as an extension, which we are a bit concerned about right now because we don't have bids right this moment ready to bring before you to consider awarding. The extension actually must be requested through our legislators. These legacy dollars were passed as a legislative package, so we have sent a request to our legislators, in fact, asking for an extension on that to allow us some time to work with the grant administrator so we can bring some proposals to you that are developed and explored and have those questions answered to help you make a decision on what's the best thing for this community. So I don't have a full proposal to put before you, but wanted you to know there are some things in the works, and we will be getting that to you as quickly as we can. Secondly, wanted to give, again, kind of a brief update on the childcare at Washington School. The city crews have poured the sidewalks over there, which will connect the childcare doors to the driveway. That should be finished up this week with some dirt work. The operator has in fact received her certificate from the state, and both the city and the school district have reached out very recently for me, late last week, and I'll be following up, just asking, if she is yet looking for staffing, if she has a target open date, and then what we can do to help with that, with our staff, or connecting her with someone. So that is also in the works, and I will keep you posted just as soon as I hear any movement on that. And when she's ready to open, we will certainly share that as well on our Facebook pages and websites to help get that word out. And then I cannot remember if I emailed you this, so I'm going to tell you now. I did check on some of your publications, your magazines that you get. Tina checked for me. You do receive a magazine from the League of Minnesota Cities through your subscription. The rest are free mailings. They're just mailing lists. They are likely getting your names from the website or things like that. So we are not paying for any of the additional magazines that you're getting. I wanted to tell you while it was on my mind. I think that is all I have.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Okay. Start with Robert tonight. He was standing earlier, so I thought he was itching to come up, so
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Your hospitality is always overwhelming. Members of the council, I've spent my last couple of weeks meeting with local dignitaries. I've been focusing mainly on banks, financial institutions. Had a very productive meeting over the phone with our HUD representative down in Minneapolis. You might have missed it, but you can catch it online. I was on KROH radio. If you haven't seen it, look for the Netflix special. And I got to spend, oh, y'all thought that was funny, huh? Obviously, you heard it. And I got to spend some quality time with Mr. Hefta as we get to go around this community, identify lots and properties and issues and possibilities. And I appreciate him taking his time to be my chauffeur. I call him Hefta Uber. It's a lot of fun. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert.
Robert,
Paul?
That's a tough act to follow. I'm going to be really brief. Just an update on the Halloween drive-through food drive event. About 12 to 15 Leo Club students helped out in a couple of different shifts. On that day, it was a little chilly and a little windy, but they gave away just over 200 bags, Halloween bags filled with candy and safety materials. So that was a good number of people coming through. Collected somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500 pounds worth of food for the Care and Share that they donated and brought down there. So again, as always, thanks to the CHS Leo Club and the high school for participating with the police department and making this event successful. Here we go.
All right, thank you, Paul. Chad?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good evening, Council. With hockey season approaching, IT is working closely with the Park and Rec Department to update all of our calendars and make sure that those are reflected online for the public to make use of. We're working with the Public Works Department, who is going to get us up on the roof in order to winterize the antennas that we have on the building and make sure that we're ready for when the snow flies and that we can keep all the equipment operational. And then finally, while we're up on the roof, we're going to be reclaiming one of the cameras that's been non-operational for some time. And we're going to be bringing that indoors, and we're going to make that a part of what I'll call a beta phase of a security / theft and loss security system. And that's all used from repurposed equipment, absolutely no cost involved in that. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. Brian, anything tonight?
Good evening, Your Honor and Council. Not a lot going on so far. Brady Marks is going to be here this week to finish up the CARES Act reporting, and that was, kind of before my time. And Kathy and I have been going through a large box of a lot of different papers, all kind of thrown in and trying to organize that and get that ready for Brady Marks. Also working with Robert, teaching him how our budget works and what he's got in his budget for his spending. Attended a webinar on fiscal spending and year-end prep for the things that will need to be done in November here with our budgets. And then also going to meet with Christy and do some training for small city grants development. We've had a couple people kind of approach other people, and I think it'll be a good training thing. And when I get that done, I will give you guys a little bit more of an update and inform you all kind of what I learned on that and how those grants can help individuals and all the details that go with those grants.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Kent, anything from the fire hall?
Nothing to report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Brandon?
Like Amy said, the guys finished pouring the second half of the sidewalk into Washington School, and they will get the dirt work done hopefully tomorrow there. Cleanup week totals. So these numbers aren't super reflective because last fall cleanup we missed spring cleanup because it was canceled for COVID. But in 20, the bypass was 109 tons. This year we did 95. The garbage portion was 59 in 20, and this year it was 49, and appliances, they grabbed 167 and 20, and this year they grabbed 109. Tires in 20. Pat was better than me. He counted every tire he picked up. He got 132. I'm just going off pickup loads. I got 4 pickup loads. So. The dollar amount for the bypass in 20, we paid $7,070-ish. This year it cost us about $6,365. They're almost done making one pass through town, sweeping the streets. They're on that northwest corner, I'll call it, on everything west of the railroad tracks and north of the river, basically, is where they're working on now.
You say they make one do they go more than once, or?
I don't, if we had time to maybe hit areas that maybe the leaves haven't dropped yet, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how long we can run that in the cold weather. So that'll kind of tell us when to quit here. But we will make another pass if we have time.
Okay, thank you.
Records finished sodding on last Friday, so the sod for the street repairs is complete as of Friday. And then we've had a couple questions on the street corner signs. We're waiting. The county's truck is currently in the shop. They hope it'll be ready to reinstall the street corner signs and the stop signs next week. If they don't get it next week, we'll probably just go out with a hand pounder and get them installed just for this year to get them in. So we're getting to the point where we'll be fighting frost here pretty soon, so we just need to get them in. The water department's been working on getting ready for cold weather, so they've checked all the fire hydrants to make sure they're drained for winter and operational if there is a fire. And there's a few, like the drinking fountain downtown, and there's a couple of other seasonal spots they have to blow out the water lines to make sure they don't freeze. The RV park, or the RV dump station on East Robert, the water portion is shut off for the year. They can still dump there, but the water is off, so they don't have any water to maybe flush out their tanks or whatnot.
But they can dump down there yet, though?
Yep,
Okay.
it's open to dump year round. The water just has to be shut off once it starts freezing.
Okay.
And the water department's also getting ready. They're cleaning out the filter room. The tentative start date for that project is the end of November here, so they're getting the filter room ready, so when contractors get to town, they can get to work and not have to work around all our stuff. So that is all I got.
Okay, thanks, Brandon. Greg, anything?
Thank you, Your Honor, Council. Yeah, as Robert was mentioning, for the Planning Commission next week, we're looking at a couple of residential lots for the City Council to consider in the future, whether for low income or some public usage to increase the value of those lots in the future. And that will be detailed more next week in the Planning Commission and in the packet. They were tax forfeited, similar to what Cheetah has done in the past, but again, it's going to be up to the councils if they want to pursue that agenda or a different agenda in the future. I just want to mention 4A building, that they are continuing construction. There's fire department connections, sprinkler systems being installed, drywall on the 3rd floor. They've done quite a bit of painting on the 2nd floor. And there is electrical work, even though I don't inspect, but exit signs and that sort of thing that have been, quite a bit has been completed on that one. And so that is ongoing though. I won't give a schedule on that. New flyer, there's the 3 main slabs that were poured. They were concerned about the freezing coming up, and they wanted to make sure that was completed before cold weather and or frost hit the ground. So that's a good thing that got in. They do have supplemental or auxiliary concrete pads that have to go in, and And then I was checking the rebar that are associated with the main concrete pads as they were going, different sizing, and as that they met the engineering specifications on the plans. And then also they're starting site work for parking and egress and access to the property. Along with that, let's see. And as far as the other residential construction, it's just a 1-2 family home, and monitoring and inspecting that second floor, or excuse me, the second floor of that 2 families under construction right now, of stairwells and that sort of thing. And then also have one house on the south end that's under construction as well that I'm doing inspections for. So pretty much a summation of current construction right now. So.
All right, thank you, Greg.
Yep, thank you.
Jake, anything?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Parks crew have been finishing up their fall work and they're starting to get ready for winter. CSC is being scheduled still. I'm about done with all of our hockey schedules for away and home games. Our 10U squirts and our 8U mites, we're playing in-house league right now with Mayville. We had our first game yesterday in Mayville and it turned out really well. A lot more kids on the ice. We got 4 teams for each division, so kids had a good time. Games start for our older groups, like our Pee-wees and 12U and Bantams this weekend. We have a lot of home games. The high school girls, they'll start their season. Well, they started their season, but they'll have their first home game Thursday this week. And then the boys will start Monday the 15th. And then we are building ice in the Gold Rink. It should be ready the 15th of November. That's all I got.
All right, thanks, Jake. Anything from Commissioner Wilhite?
Just a bit. Well, good evening. First off, congratulations to Mr. Erickson for his promotion to grandfather. Thanks for joining the club.
Yep.
A few grandfathers out here. But I just want to give an update on the American Rescue Plan and talk a little bit about that a couple of months ago. The county has received $6 million for projects, okay? And it's my thought that with this money, that there's certainly communities in our county that maybe have had plans, but just not the funding to go with that. And it makes sense to partner, or at least take a look at those. So if you would have some interest, I'm not sure what the amount the city received. You know, Ryan or Amy?
About
offhand?
800,000 will be our total.
How much? 800,000?
800. Yeah.
So that's something. But if we could match that or even do better than that, I'd like to see Crookston get certain share of that $6 million on projects. When we first started looking at that plan, cities and counties were trying to just drill down to see what projects would follow the guidelines of this. And right from the onstart, it looked like water projects and broadband for sure, okay? The county has made one set aside of $50,000 to assist individuals with septic tanks near water during lakes to help if there's any leakage or that type of thing for some maybe 50-50 projects on that. So we've delegated $50,000 with a lot of dollars remaining. But water also involves any lead piping or anything that might be in the community. It might also cover water towers. I know a few years ago, probably several years ago now, when we did the repainting inside and outside of the water tower, those come in a very expensive price. So those types of things may be covered. I did attend a conference here about 6 weeks ago to take a look to see what other counties were looking at, and found that scope has enlarged, okay? There's some counties very actively already taking a look at putting those dollars towards daycares, and I know that's been a concern of the Crookston community. I think that Washington project, the future there, beautiful location, obviously, a gymnasium's got a parking lot, recreation equipment there. That might be a project you may want to take a look at. Other counties are looking at using some of those dollars for housing in different communities, and that could be for workforce housing or senior housing. Some are even doing, putting together some scholarships for training for jobs that you feel are needed in your community, and primarily on the technical side. So we've got, obviously, East Grand Forks Technical School right here, and offering scholarships for those people to get in. And some of those institutes are putting up together special 6-month programs and things like that. This money would go towards the tuition for those Polk County residents. And possibly transportation regarding some safety issues. I know you're looking at an issue here on 2nd Street, and so that may also be a source for some of those funds. So I would, suggest, I don't know how you want to do it, Mayor, if you want to kind of get a committee together or sit what the priorities would be. We do have a timetable, which is much more generous than the last one we had. We have a 3-year plan, at least to have this money spent out. But I think as commissioners, we would like to see what types of partnerships we might be looking at from other cities. So, hopefully within the next 6 months or so, you could at least give us an idea of what you're thinking, of what you would like to submit for proposals for those dollars.
Like if someone was planning on, say, trying to go to school and looking for a scholarship, would they contact somebody from the county, or who would they contact?
Well, it's all how it's set up. If it would be a county-wide program, then yes. But if it was just a Crookston community,
Okay.
you would kind of coordinate that, set aside a budget, how much you want to spend towards that,
Okay.
and just put your request in for the county, and we'll be dealing with this $6 million.
Is there a formalized process?
Right now, no, nothing formal. Climax already has submitted a proposal, and they're actually requesting, I think, close to $1.5 million for a rural water project down there. They have submitted that. So we're just asking. I would think the other commissioners in the other parts of the county, and Foston, East Grand Forks, Fertile, wherever, are reaching their communities and asking them to submit a proposal.
Okay.
The Climax has.
Can I also ask, your decision-making on what you're paying out, is it going to be based on, like, in 6 months, you'll look at all the proposals and then make a decision? Or are you guys going to be approving it on a monthly basis? I'm like, what is the urgency here, I guess, is my question.
Well, my urgency is maybe different than anything established yet. Okay. We had an opportunity to take some action on this Climax request. But obviously, I don't think it's a first in, first served type thing. Again, this is a shovel-ready project, okay, something that they had actually been working on for a couple of years already. So now the opportunity to apply for some additional funds is there. I think we need to establish some priorities, what our priorities are, and have some type of a deadline that we could give information back to people to say, look, get that request in before 6 months, otherwise, the $6 million could go relatively quickly. So I'll be pushing the commissioners to come up with some guidelines and, get some information out as we now begin to start soliciting. But I kind of wanted to get here and kind of get the information out as soon as possible. Takes a while, you know, I mean, like I told our administrator, it's not the only thing that city government is working on, particularly now with budget times and things like that. And to set your priorities and where those types of money and how much you want to ask for and that type of thing is going to take some time. So I would say, you know, I mean, I'm pushing not to make any final decisions or any other than this 50,000 we've already set aside within the next 6 months.
Is there any kind of a list of what all this money can be used for in case there, you know, I mean, I know you give us a list of some things, but is there more things or is it?
Well, that's kind of what we're finding out, you know, as time goes on, and as people have different ideas, it's a matter of dealing with the federal government and finding out what exactly they're willing to approve.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't give money away. I mean, there's going to be follow-up on where it goes. And, you know, you probably, I think Ryan mentioned that he'd seen some guidelines that came through on what you can spend money on for and what you can't.
You guys are with other cities and what they're doing and stuff, so we are.
Yeah, I think the league is working on some things, and they can answer more specific questions. But a lot of the counties are working closely, hopefully with their communities to come up with what their priorities are.
Thank you.
And Amy was at one of our meetings here a couple of months ago, and so she knows who Chuck Whiting is.
Yep.
And, you know, I think the two of them kind of getting together and letting us know what's, you know, what's coming and what your priorities are.
Okay.
Well, very good.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Amy, you had one other item?
I just wanted to take a minute to publicly thank our directors that work for the city, that work hard for me, for this council, for our community. A lot of us are new to the team, but we are really seeing a team approach to everything. Everyone is collaborating and relying on each other and trusting each other. And I hope that as you see them out in our community and working, that you show them that same level of appreciation. This is a really hardworking, honest, and ethical group who is doing their very best with me to straighten some things out and provide some processes for us to follow that do allow us to equitably serve our community. I am proud to serve with them. I think they're all doing an absolutely wonderful job. They work really, really hard. What they share with you at the podium is just the tip of the iceberg of what they do for our community. And I just want to publicly thank them and hope that those of you that see them out will also show your appreciation to them as they're devoting their time to our community to make it a better place for all of us. So, that's all.
Thank you, Amy. Start with Don tonight.
Ooh, first? Well, I just have the chamber office has a new director, and Mark Landa, he will be coming in to talk to you about what the chamber is planning in the future. He's going to contact the city and get him.
I think he has, he's on the schedule, but I can't remember the date.
Okay,
Tina's got
good.
him plugged in.
Yeah, and they have their fall raffle is up right now, $50 a ticket, 300 tickets, and they'll make the drawing on December 3rd. So if you have an extra $50 in your billfold or purse or whatever, you may want to buy a ticket. $5,000 is a grand prize, so somebody might win that sometime, right? And I'd like to thank Brandon, just a real quick thank you, because I had a woman that wanted to put up a flag in her yard, and I didn't have any tools or anything for that, and I called Brandon and asked him if he knew anybody that could help. And he came over right away, put her flag up. She was so thankful. Thank you, Brian. Or Brandon, excuse me. Very good, excellent. You talk about people in the city doing a good job. I look around this room and I see a lot of good people, and these guys and women are working hard for the city. And we really appreciate that, Amy and all of the directors. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Don. Delane, anything tonight?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Tom?
I just had one question. I know holidays are coming up, and about a year ago or so, we had approved to put lighting on the bridge. Does anybody have any idea where that ever went to, or whatever happened to it?
Yes, I can speak to that.
Okay.
I have visited with the DCDP group.
Okay.
Initially, it was thought that the city was to apply for a permit, and the entire project would be in the hands of the DCDP. That's when I first came on. MnDOT does not actually contract with anyone other than a government agency, which means that project becomes the city's project. And up until very recently, I understand that our Public Works Director had some quotes submitted to him that I had not yet seen. That will be important as we look at that and the priority and the scope of the things we have on to determine if in fact the cost can be borne by the DCDP. There's plans and specs that are going to have to be out. We have to check bidding requirements and comply with an agreement with MnDOT.
As far as the bidding goes, I was always under the impression that they had bid it out and they had the money to do it.
MnDOT will not contract with DCDP, so any bidding and following of procedures and processes would be borne by the city. It is no longer as simple as us applying for a permit for that. It would be a city project. MnDOT will not contract with another agency that's not a governmental unit.
Well, can we contract with them and let the DCP pay for it since they've got the funding to do it?
Technically, yes, we can.
Okay.
I haven't seen the quotes yet, so we need to make sure that the funding is in fact available to cover the project, or the city, myself, has to come with a proposal to you on what that looks like. There's also, I'm sorry?
Any way to get that done this year? Because holidays are coming up, and I know when we did it, everybody thought this was a wonderful idea, to have the colors on the bridge, and cold weather is coming quick.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that right now, Tom. This is the first time that you've brought this to my attention. We have to get through the budget. So there are some things that are going to take priority over other projects right now. We will look at it. I think Brandon has some information. I haven't seen that yet.
Okay.
There are some other things. When we get, and I think I actually put this in my review that I sent to you. I don't know if all of you have read it yet, but when we get proposals to the city, while the requester, those are priorities certainly to every group, it is our responsibility as staff to evaluate those requests in the big scope of the services that we provide, the resources that we have. We have to look at funding for that, and that's something that we just haven't sat down and gone through yet.
But I guess I feel on this one, the council approved it over a year ago, and they had the funding, so I don't see where that should have been a big issue. It should have been done.
Yes, but it wasn't what it was put before you. It was asked to apply for a permit, and when we started that conversation, and DCDP is aware of this, I have visited with a couple of members about it. It's not the simple permit that we can issue that allows another group to do it. So there's just a little bit different aspect. There's also a maintenance agreement, so the maintenance and ongoing maintenance of those lights would then be the cities, and so there's some evaluation that needs to be done on that. And I cannot commit right now that we could have that done being the 8th of November. I don't know that we could get that through and to you by the end of the year with the budget things.
I just want to make sure we're not letting all these little things slide left and right. You still got to work with the community. When these people come forward, whether they're volunteers or whatever, I think we still need to address the issues and keep moving with them. Like I said, that was brought up a year ago, and I haven't heard boo about it either. And
I have had communications, and tonight through Mr. Ved Broughton is the next time I've heard about it, other than learning that someone submitted some things to Brandon. So I haven't been contacted about it. I've talked to 2 members of the DCDP.
Yeah, I guess like I said, I just want to make sure that when people bring things to us as a city, that we just don't throw them aside because they're too busy. That's not what we should be doing either.
I agree with that. If it fits into the big scope of the priorities that the city is required to provide. And I think sometimes the timing of things can be challenging. I think that's important for us to understand, that we do have city priorities that we levy taxes for and we do things for, if in fact all of the funds aren't there, then I have to bring a suggestion to you on where to get that from. And so all of those things play into it. And right now, our budget has been our priority.
Right. But on the same hand, like Steve was saying, okay, the private individuals, from what I understood long time ago, they went out and got bids and everything to do this, because they had funds to pay for it. But a year ago later, them bids aren't any good.
But didn't they go to local electricians to?
They could have. I have no idea.
I have no
never
idea
saw the
neither,
bids.
but now.
Neither did I. So
My
I don't know.
My understanding about this is that the permit, it takes a long time to get a permit, and then I don't know who was responsible for getting the permit.
The city would have, but the
But-
permit's not an option anymore. It has to be a
Yeah.
bridge maintenance agreement, a bridge lighting maintenance
Right,
agreement.
there was a lot of,
Who has to write that up?
MnDOT.
And that
Yeah.
does? Okay. If they can get that to us, is that?
They have a draft to us.
It sounds like the scope of the work has become significantly bigger than the initial agreement and the initial decision, if I'm not mistaken what you're saying
My
here.
understanding is initially, it was brought before the council, and it was the understanding of staff that we could apply for a permit through MnDOT and allow the work to be done, and that is not in fact the case. We would have to enter into an agreement and consider bridge lighting maintenance, and that's part of that agreement. So our director does have quotes, but there's some investigation. We need to understand what our responsibilities and part of that project would be.
And MnDOT's the ones that tell us what responsibilities they are?
Well, on the maintenance agreements, yes. What our responsibilities as part of a MnDOT project, yes, we would need to understand that. Who can do the work, who has to get the quotes, those types of things, and I don't have the answers to that right now.
So was that explained to the DCDP that we couldn't do it? The ball is back in their park to figure out how they want to bring it to the council? Or is it just, you know what I mean? Now it's their turn. They went out and got bids and did all that,
I
and we
believe
can't
they
do
have-
that.
they have
No, just a
take-
second, hear me out here. So they can't do that. So then was it just told, hey, here's what you're gonna have to do to get the ball to be kept rolling? That's, I guess, is what we're hearing.
My response at one time was that the project became much different than it was initially thought to be, and at that time, I did not have the resources to devote to that. We went for a time without a finance director, and I was carrying both of those jobs. We're into budget now. I don't have that information, but yes, that was communicated back, and they have taken action by submitting things to our director, so it sounds like that's moving. That doesn't alleviate us of the things that we have to get before you on our timelines. We will look at it, we plan to look at it. That's been communicated back, I think, through two people directly through me and one through another channel, that we have to have a better understanding of what that is, what the funding is, can it all be covered? Are the quotes the same as when they were submitted? And I don't have those answers for you.
Okay.
Anything else, Tom?
Nope.
Wayne?
No report tonight.
Christie?
Nothing to report, Your Honor.
Steve?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Clayton?
I'll just follow along with the rest. I'd like to, thank the staff and, all employees of the city of Crookston, because they're the ones that make our jobs a lot easier. So, thank you to everybody.
I just got one quick little item here, regarding, this for council regarding Amy's evaluation. Try to have these back by the 15th.
Where do you want us to bring them to?
Well, she said get them to me, if it's easier for you guys, just to give them to Tina, and then I'll either pick them up that Monday night or Tuesday morning. So if you just wanna bring them down to City Hall and give them to Tina, and, I'll get them.
okay.
That'd probably be easier for everybody. Okay with that?
Yep.
Steve's giving me the look.
Just fine.
Okay. That's all I have, nothing else, we got a Ways and Means following shortly on the budget, nothing else become before council, we are adjourned, thank you.